Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to the TDR's Trade to Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales. We're going to break down once again the biggest developments this week in the cannabis industry, beginning on February 10th and ending here on Sunday night, February 16th. It's been another wild week in the space spanning politics, business, and regulatory shifts, to say the least. So a lot to unpack, from RFK Jr. stepping in as the head of the HHS to Terry Cole leading the DEA, plus some interesting moves by Canopy Growth, Virginia's latest cannabis roadblock, and Illinois celebrating 5 years of legalization and some big numbers they're producing. So sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of your long weekend, and let's dive in to the biggest developments in cannabis for the week of February 16th. We first begin with a headline that's got the industry buzzing. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now officially leading the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, sat down with Fox News' Laura Ingraham for his first major interview since taking the role. And let's just say his comments on the cannabis side have stirred the pot, and no pun intended. Kennedy warned of catastrophic impacts from high-potency cannabis, citing concerns he's heard over his 40 years in addiction recovery. Now, that might sound like a bad omen for federal cannabis reform, but here's the twist. He's actually pushing for more research. Rather than outright criminalization, Kennedy wants to use state-level legalization as a foundation for scientific study. And let's face it, the HHS has already recommended scheduling cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. The ball will now be in the hands of the DOJ and the DEA. So let's see what happens. And speaking of the DEA, President Trump just tapped Terry Cole, Virginia's Secretary of Public Safety, to lead the DEA. If you follow his track record, you'll know he's no friend of the cannabis industry. Cole has spent 28 years in law enforcement with a reputation for cracking down on drug trafficking, including cannabis. This move is shaking up investors' confidence. Cole's history suggests that he may resist further legalization efforts at the federal level. But here's the catch. Federal rescheduling efforts are ultimately driven by the executive branch. And with the HHS already backing Schedule 3, it's unclear how much of a roadblock Cole will actually have. Don't read too much into this. So the big question remains, will federal cannabis reform move forward, or will Cole's leadership throw some cold water on the momentum? We'll find out. But again, it's about the DOJ. Let's now move to the business side, where Decibel Cannabis is making waves with its general admission liquid diamond vapes, which have catapulted to the #1 spot in Canada's 1 gram 510 vape market. This product launch actually adds 1.5 points to its market share, and with infused pre-rolls hitting shelves soon, Decibel is proving that premium innovation sells, and why wouldn't it? Over in Europe, Tilray Medical is strengthening its grip on Germany's cannabis market. The company just launched a high-potency THC CBD extract, catering to both new and experienced patients. With Germany's market growing rapidly since April of 2024, Tilray's strategic expansion shows that international cannabis is a major part of the industry's future, and why wouldn't it be? Investors looking for global growth should keep an eye on Germany's medical landscape. Staying on the business front, Canopy Growth is doubling down on cannabis beverages. The company just launched new flavors in its deep space propulsion lineup, including rocket root beer and charged cream soda. Sounds tasty. Each can contains 10 milligrams of THC, 10 milligrams of CBG, and a caffeine kick under 30 milligrams. As cannabis drinks gain popularity, Canopy is positioning itself as a leader in the space. If infused beverages continue to take off, you're going to expect even more brands to jump in, something to keep an eye on. Let's now move to state action, where Hawaii's Senate is making moves towards cannabis legalization, with SB 1613 advancing past 2 committees. The public is split right down the middle, 86 supporters, 86 opponents. Law enforcement and religious groups are pushing back, but lawmakers are moving forward anyway. This is interesting. The bill still has a tough road in the House, where a companion measure has already been delayed until next session. But for now, Hawaii is inching towards becoming the next state to legalize adult use cannabis. It's a good thing. Over in Minnesota, legalization isn't just about building a new industry, it's about social equity. The state just launched what's called Can Renew, a $1 million grant program focused on uplifting communities harmed by past cannabis prohibition. Grants range from $50,000 to $200,000, helping nonprofits, tribes, and local businesses fund economic development, public health initiatives, and violence prevention. With additional programs like Can Start Up and Can Train, Minnesota is making sure cannabis legalization benefits those who have been sidelined, not just big corporations. Moving now to the Cavalier State, where Virginia lawmakers have passed an adult use cannabis bill through both chambers once again. But guess what? Governor Glenn Youngkin is likely to veto it. Surprise, surprise. Youngkin has repeatedly voiced concerns over health and safety, keeping Virginia's market stuck in limbo while illicit sales surge past, get this, $3 billion annually. Reform advocates argue that regulation is the solution, but for now, Virginia's cannabis industry remains a game of legislative chicken. Staying in the Midwest, where Illinois just hit a huge milestone, $2 billion in total cannabis sales for 2024. That includes a record-breaking $1.72 billion in adult use sales and another $285 million in medical sales. Governor J.B. Pritzker is celebrating the state's equity-first approach with tax revenue funding social programs in communities that are hit hardest by the war on drugs. But there is growing concern over unregulated hemp cutting into dispensary profits. As Illinois' market matures, the challenge will be balancing legalization with keeping bad actors in check. And finally, moving south, where Florida lawmakers are eyeing an expansion of medical cannabis access. SB 552 would allow out-of-state patients, eliminate fees for veterans, and even permit home cultivation with 2 plants per patient. And needless to say, strict regulations. Add in new telehealth rules for renewals, and Florida could become an even bigger cannabis powerhouse. But with adult use legalization still a long way off, the Sunshine State remains focused on its booming medical market. This cannot be forgotten. It is a big medical market. So that wraps up another week here in the cannabis industry. We've got RFK Jr. pushing research, a new head at the DEA, moves from Canopy and Tilray, Virginia's legislative drama, and Illinois proving that legalization can be a fiscal win. There was a lot to unpack here for sure. But when we look back, zoom out, and pause for a moment, you have to admit the industry's momentum is undeniable. Yes, federal uncertainty continues to cast a shadow, but from what we continue to hear a lot, this decision-making is going to come down to the vision of the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. So there you have it. You believe cannabis rescheduling will finally happen? Will Virginia break its cycle of failed legalization attempts? And how will states like Florida and Minnesota shape up here in 2025? Let us know by leaving your comments below, because as usual, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know your thoughts. And if you like what we've produced here, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that bell for all notifications. One last thing, make sure to scan this QR code and become a baked-in newsletter subscriber delivered to your inbox weekdays, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you all the biggest developments in the business side, finance side, and the reform side here in the cannabis industry. A lot of pieces are now falling into place when it comes to Trump's administration as we start to get a clear idea of whether or not rescheduling will indeed happen, and ultimately who will be making that decision. Let us know what you think. You think it's going to happen? I personally do. But again, we'd love to hear from you. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.